As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. Back in my 20s, when I was trying to figure things out for myself on a personal level, I had three very strong mentors who would challenge my thinking and would try to bring me into a more mature way of reasoning about who I am and what life is all about. One of my mentors had this real simple thing that he would say, and that is, Les, relationships don't have to be that complicated. And then he would just talk about the basics of what it means to have a healthy relationship. Show respect to one another. Remain open-minded, or accept each other in the midst of your differences. Maintain a certain amount of self-restraint, particularly when there's frustrations that are there. Practice the golden rule. In other words, treat others as you would have them treat you. It's not that complicated. Now, having said all of that, and I'm hoping those are thoughts and ideas that have crossed your mind many times over, when you're dealing with a strongly narcissistic individual, all of those basic, simple seeming rules for healthy engagement can go flying out the window. How many times have you thought to yourself, I can't deal with this person. I can't get through to them. There's just a block there. And anytime I try to get some sort of traction, it blows up. And it can happen on many different levels. For example, it may be that you're just trying to coordinate simple tasks or trying to coordinate your schedule, and somehow it can turn into an argument or an accusation coming back, and it's like, where did all that come from? It might be that you're trying to express opinions or preferences or interpretations, and they treat you like you're some sort of idiot, or they try to correct your way of thinking. It's like, no, I'm just expressing a thought, and before you know it, you wind up getting into a debate that is completely unnecessary. How many times have you been in a conflict with that person, hoping that you could have an open-minded exchange of thoughts and ideas and feelings, only to find out that it just turns into a nasty expression of anger, etc.? And then at the end of it all, you just look at that person, and in your mind you're thinking, this is absurd. Like I say, I can't get through to this person. You see, in order to have healthy connections with other individuals, there are certain attitudes that you hopefully would be able to bring into the equation. One would be, hey, look, I have my preferences, but I know you have yours too. That would be nice for both of us to think that way. Or you could think, well, I bring a wide variety of experiences and a backstory into our conversations, just as you do. Let's make room for lots of that. They don't think that way either. Or it would be nice if both of you could come together and say, well, I know I want to be heard, and it only makes sense to think, well, you want to be heard too. Let's make that happen. But there are so many things going on inside of that narcissist that work against it that they become just very difficult to engage with in any kind of meaningful way. And I want to talk with you about 7 reasons, 7 different things going on inside the narcissist that inhibit them from being able to have fair exchanges with you. Now, reason number 1 is these individuals that you're dealing with are operating with decades-old norms. Or sometimes they're rebelling against some of their old norms, but one way or another, they're stuck with old issues. For example, what I mean by that is they can have things inside the family. Well, my family used to do it this way, or my father used to be this way, or we in our home we had these habits and all. Or it could be a religious system that said, here's the way things are supposed to be. Or it could be that they're in sports, and the sports taught, well, you have to be this way, and you have to treat your teammates that way, and so on and so forth. And basically, these individuals are either trying to recreate what they used to live in, or they can look back and say, yeah, and I hated all of that, and so they're rebelling against it. One way or the other, their heads are stuck in the past. And as a result, they can interpret you as being off base or pushing against all of that. And they don't know what to do when you say, hey, look, let's look at things maybe from a different angle. It's like, no, I don't want to hear different. I've got my own things that I draw upon, and here you are bringing in complexity. I don't like that. Number two, as to why you can't get through to them. Narcissists inevitably have I'm going to call it an am I good enough anxiety. And by that I mean they're constantly measuring the crowd in front of them, wondering, how do I feel around you? Do you think that I'm okay? And they're constantly worried about where they stand in the pecking order. Are they up? Are they down? And so if you come along and say, well, I differ from you, or I have a preference that you hadn't thought about, then they can take that and turn it into a competitive kind of a mindset. Well, then which one of us is more correct and which one of us is less correct, as opposed to let's just look at what each other says. They don't think as one equal to another. There's a one up, one down kind of a game going on inside their brain. A third reason you can't get through to them, and that is narcissists have what we refer to as an externally based self-image. And by the way, that also means you're responsible for keeping them propped up. It's on you. And when I say that, they have to control other people's opinions and impressions, because you see, I need you to think the right way so that I come away feeling good. And so they're looking to you as a prop to feed their sense of self-esteem. And so when you say, hey, let's talk about our differences, or let's explore how we can coordinate, they're thinking, wait. I want to keep you inside a slot so that I can know where I stand. And this is a little bit too vague and too much ambiguity. They don't like that. A fourth reason, and this makes no sense based on what I just said, but somewhere along the way, they begin to develop a better than thou kind of a mindset toward you. It's like, look, I'm tired of having to deal with all your differences. I'm tired of having to worry about where I stand. Yeah, the bottom line is, surely you can appreciate by now, I'm better than you. My opinions make more sense. My preferences make more sense. My interpretations do. And so why don't you just drop all of your things that you're bringing to the equation toward me and just defer and go along with me? And if you don't, and if you still have your separate thoughts and ideas, all that proves is you're less than me, because you're just a troublemaker. And so they have this superiority mindset, and you have to play the role of the inferior. A fifth reason you can't get through. Ultimately, in the way that you engage with them, trust is not in the equation. Narcissists have decided, I can't really trust. I can't open up. I don't want to make myself vulnerable, because all you're going to do is step all over it. They don't have any empathy. They don't really want to know who you are, because that's just too messy. And so they naturally have a distrust about who you are and what the circumstances are going to lead towards. And then this takes us a little bit further. This is reason number 6, you can't get through to them. Ultimately, the more there's a difference there between you and that person, it begins to morph into a victim's mindset. You're coming against me because you're trying to make me out to be the bad guy here, aren't you? That's how they think. And if you disagree, then that means you're trying to bring them down. Of course, that's classic projection, because that's what they're doing to you, but they don't see it that way. And so they start playing the victim's role. Quit making my life so miserable. And you're over there thinking, I'm just trying to tell you, I wanted to go to the store instead of doing this. And but they can turn it into something much bigger than what it really is. And then finally, number 7, and this is so interesting for you to ponder this. Ultimately, as narcissists engage with you, they bring with them a perpetual self-loathing. Now, what I mean by that is they want to keep their false self in charge. They want to look right. They want to look together. And when you come along and say, well, there might be a different way of looking at things, and maybe we could think this way differently, then it's like, hey, look, you're requiring me to admit maybe I don't know everything, and I hate it when you do that. Because you see, there might be some things on the inside of themselves that they know are flawed and imperfect. It's like, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about my differences. We don't talk about failures or anything that may make me think like a failure. I despise that side of myself. I will not talk about any of it. So basically, when you sit down and say, let's coordinate, there's a parallel thought that runs with it, and that is, let's get real with one another. And that petrifies the narcissist. They can't say, well, you know what, maybe I do have room for improvement. I could certainly use some input. If you have some thoughts that would help me, I'm quite open to that. They can't say that. Or they can't say, well, there's more than one way to look at a situation. I'd like to get your perspective. Or even if we are at a stalemate, I can still accept you and I can still show respect. They simply don't think that way because of that, all of the deep chaos that they bring to you in the equation. All that I'm talking about here, these reasons that you can't get through to them, implies that narcissists are sitting on a major sense of insecurity, and then they don't have the humility to say what I just said, and as a result, they have to stay in a tight sense of control. If they can control who you are and how you think and how you talk to them, then somehow that makes them think, therefore my life is going to be good. And so when you come along and say, well, I have a little something different to bring, then that rocks their world and they can't go there. So go back to that thought. I can't get through to this person. And remind yourself, well, if that's true, then you need to listen to yourself. And that being the case, you have some things to ask yourself about. Can you keep your composure even when they lose theirs? Can you accept the serious limitations that implies with that relationship? Because all the efforts seem to imply that it's not going to work out too well. Would you be willing to adjust your expectations? And then are you willing to minimize your interactions with a very unhealthy person? You can't get through to a narcissist for one huge reason, and that is, that underscores everything I'm saying, because they can't get through to themselves. They're closed off to their real self. Therefore, it's going to make it next to impossible for you to make the breakthrough. Now, I hope this gives you some good explanation of what you might be dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you. Hit the notification bell. Inside my channel, you'll see a videos tab on there, and you can go through that and peruse all sorts of videos that have come up through the years. If you have a need for therapy, and I know when you're dealing with something like this, that need can come up. Well, please know that I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists. All you have to do is go through the link that's below the video and click on that, answer a few questions, and you get to select a therapist you could work through or work with. And it can be so helpful for them to say, you know, let's talk about this. Let's make sense of who you are and what you're dealing with so that you can be your best version of yourself. Get the help that you need. In addition, in my retirement from my counseling practice, I put together courses. These are very extensive, and each course online classes, and you can do it at your own pace, and you can share it with anybody you want. But each one consists of at least 25 teaching videos, and each video has handouts and guided questions. We have anger games. We have This Is Me about boundaries. We also have Free to Be, Finding Yourself Despite Their Controlling Ways. Ready, Set, Connect. Links are below the video for all of that. On my website, we have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations of a different nature. They've proven to be quite popular, as well as access to my podcasts, articles, books, lots of resources. Okay, on the simplest level and the big stuff, there can be so many times when you think, I can't get through to that person. Know that you're dealing with someone who's bringing so much of their own inner turmoil to you. Of course, they're making it out to be, well, you're the problem. When in fact, I'm hoping you can see into it and realize there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen whether you're the one on the scene with them or if someone else. That being the case, you want to separate yourself off, individualize your growth efforts, and I'm hoping you can give yourself more and more of that determination that says, I want to be a person of steadiness, because I'm aiming towards finding my own sense of peace.